I wasn't expecting Caitlin Clark to be coming back this early, but ESPN put out an article earlier this week kind of summing up. They was predicting Caitlin Clark to be back by August the 12th. Now, this just came out of the pipeline of the Indiana Fever front office. Let's pull it up right now.
The Golden Goose is back, and the whole basketball world is watching closely. After weeks of no news and lots of guessing, Caitlin Clark's injury status has been updated. She might play, depending on how she feels at game time. This news has caused a big stir across the WNBA. Clark, the star of the Indiana Fever, is not only her team's key player but also the biggest draw for fans in the league and the most important figure in women's basketball. Now, she's getting ready to play again.
Caitlin effing Clark is a game-time decision. She is a game-time decision. She is, as far as I'm aware, someone said she's listed as questionable on the app. Someone said on the app she's listed as questionable. But she is a game-time decision, apparently. Look, if we're going to be honest, no, she's a game-time.
When Clark returns to the court, it's more than just a player coming back from injury. It's a chance for the whole league to regain attention. The WNBA has been struggling without its biggest star, and viewer numbers have dropped quickly. But now, help is on the way, and everyone in the league knows their future, and even their paychecks could depend on what happens next.
Caitlin Clark may be back, and that will leave a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games left to get ready for the playoff run. Right now, you're looking at the Atlanta Dream, or you're looking at the Phoenix Mercury, which should be very interesting considering all the plots around that.
Here's the hard truth that no one wants to say out loud, but everyone knows deep down. Before Caitlin Clark's groin injury on July 15th, Indiana Fever games were drawing an average of 1.81 million viewers. After she stopped playing, that number dropped sharply to just 847,000. That's a massive 53% drop, and it hit the league like a freight train full of tough reality.
You can argue this intelligently. No one person means as much to their league, whatever league it is, as Caitlin Clark means to the WNBA. And no person has done more for their league than what Caitlin Clark has done for the WNBA. Patrick Mahomes does not mean that much to the NFL. Steph Curry does not mean that much to the NBA. LeBron James does not mean that much to the NBA. She is a monster. When we look back on this, Caitlin Clark will be for the WNBA what Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were.
When Caitlin Clark was out, WNBA viewership on national TV dropped by 55%. In other words, more than half of the audience disappeared just because one player wasn't playing. That's not just about her being popular, it shows the league is heavily dependent on her. For any business, losing that much attention over one person would be a serious warning sign.
You can't tell me that the Caitlin Clark effect isn't real. You knew when news broke yesterday that Caitlin Clark was going to be out for a few weeks, that ticket prices were going to go down, but I never expected them to go down 71% for the rivalry game. I can't help but laugh because the first thing that I thought of when I saw this was a quote that we got last year from Angel Reese when she was talking about how people don't just watch the WNBA for Caitlin. They watch it because of her as well. Hate to say it, those numbers don't lie. They're watching because of Caitlin.
The ticket market showed the same sharp decline when Clark was out. Fever games that used to average $137 per ticket with her on the court dropped to just $80. When Indiana played Chicago without both Clark and Angel Reese, tickets that had been $86 fell to only $25. Even big matchups weren't safe. Premium seats that once sold for $210 sank to $95, and the cheapest tickets slid from $86 to $25. Some teams even moved games to bigger arenas expecting Clark to draw huge crowds, only to be left scrambling when she couldn't play. The Washington Mystics, for example, shifted their game to Baltimore for the Clark effect, but once she was ruled out, ticket prices plunged from $41 to just $14.
Fever Sky tickets dropped 71% on TickPick after Caitlin Clark injury. The get-in price for the Chicago Sky versus Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever game was $86. After Caitlin Clark's injury announcement is now down to $25. And you Angel Reese fangirls will still believe and think that Angel Reese is the reason why people are watching the WNBA.
Sports economist Ryan Brewer estimated that Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA could reach $1 billion this season. That number isn't hype, it includes merchandise sales, tourism, TV deals, and all the attention that comes with being a cultural phenomenon bigger than the sport itself. For the Indiana Fever alone, her presence added about $340 million in value, taking them from a struggling team to the league's most valuable franchise. And her influence doesn't stop in Indianapolis, it's being felt across the entire league.
I think we're on the verge of seeing Caitlin Clark become bigger than the sport herself. WNBA viewing attendance is up over 200% since she joined the league. The Indiana Fever actually are outselling the Pacers, averaging over 17,000 attendance per game. That's crazy. $1 billion is the estimated increase in WNBA valuation based on Caitlin Clark alone. $1 billion. Now, this is up about 25% from the total economic value. Crazy to see these kind of numbers. I think we're on the verge of seeing something like MJ Tiger, where the average consumer goes to the TV because of somebody.
When Clark plays on the road, ticket prices jump by about 140%, with resale tickets averaging $312. On StubHub, the 10 best-selling WNBA games this season all featured the Fever. Merchandise sales tell the same story. Dick's Sporting Goods reported a 233% jump in WNBA gear compared to last year, while Fanatics saw overall WNBA sales soar by more than 500%. Clark herself is one of the top 20 best-selling athletes across all sports and ranks 6th among basketball players, even when compared to NBA stars. Her Nike contract, worth $28 million over 8 years, makes her one of the most marketable athletes in the world, yet it also highlights the massive gap between her true value to the league and her WNBA salary of just $76,535.
Caitlin Clark's agent, Aaron Kane, said Caitlin will never be paid what she's worth by the WNBA because it is quite literally impossible for them to pay her what she's worth. An economist at Indiana University Columbus calculated that Caitlin Clark was responsible for $36 million in economic impact to the city of Indianapolis, and that she is responsible for 27% of the entire WNBA's economic activity for this past season, including attendance, merchandise sales, and television. One player in a big league responsible for 27% of the economic.
Clark's upcoming return is even more dramatic given what the Fever have endured without her. The team lost both backup point guards Ori McDonald and Sydney Coulson to season-ending injuries in the same game against Phoenix on August 7th, forcing them to sign veteran Odyssey Sims on a hardship contract. Even so, the Fever held their own with a 6-4 record in their last 10 games, including a 92-70 win over Chicago with just 9 players available. Kelsey Mitchell thrived as the temporary floor general, putting up 26 points, 8 assists, and just 1 turnover against the Sky. Aaliyah Boston has been dominant as well, hitting 78% of her shots during a 4-game stretch without Clark. Still, everyone inside the organization knows the truth. This is only survival. Without Clark, the Fever can compete, but they can't contend for a championship or sustain the massive TV ratings and ticket sales that have made them the league's centerpiece. As Sophie Cunningham put it, they simply look like a different team with Clark versus without her.
Now, if you're wondering about Odyssey, she is a guard, 5'8". She's a veteran, 33 years old. This is interesting. She's been an all-star. She's also was 2019 All-WNBA. 2014 All-Rookie Team. She's had some good seasons in here, folks. No, she doesn't have a great history with the three-point shot. But if Caitlin Clark is coming back...
On Sue Bird's podcast, Clark opened up about the heavy mental burden she carries as the face of the league. She admitted feeling responsible not just for her team, but for the WNBA itself, knowing that ticket sales and TV viewership drop sharply whenever she's out. The pressure goes far beyond her performance on the court. Her health directly affects jobs, revenue, and the future of women's basketball. A text from her mother during her latest injury captured that reality. "You've taken so much time for everybody else. You have to take time for yourself now." Unlike most athletes recovering from an injury, Clark isn't just trying to heal, she's balancing her own well-being with the economic weight of an entire league built around her. She also described the difficulty of returning mid-season without the benefit of training camp, saying it's not a gradual build-up but rather being tossed into Game 30 and expected to perform immediately. On top of managing the unpredictable recovery of a soft tissue injury, she's painfully aware that every game she misses comes with major financial consequences for multiple organizations.
Being active and playing 4 games and then not, and not feeling the best, and then frustrated of how hard I worked in the off season, and then all I do is rehab and continue to do this process, and just trying to trust that the best I can. And obviously there's really frustrating days, and there's days where it's a little bit easier and you're very, very motivated and you're right close to the finish line of getting back and being back, and then it's not like I have a training camp to build up to playing my first game again. It's no, you're tossed into Game 30, go try to play well, it's hard.
When Clark finally returns, and all signs suggest it will be very soon, the excitement will be off the charts. Her comeback game could end up being one of the most watched regular season WNBA games ever. The last time she returned from injury, against the New York Liberty on June 14th, the broadcast peaked at 2.8 million viewers, making it ESPN's third most watched WNBA game on ABC. Even with Clark missing 19 of 32 games this season, league viewership is still up 21% compared to 2024. Non-Fever games have also seen a 37% boost, showing the league is successfully broadening its audience beyond just Clark's fan base. Still, everyone knows the Real surge comes when she's on the floor. And the timing couldn't be better. The Fever are 18-14, sitting 5th in the standings. They're in a solid playoff position, but every win matters. Fresh off a convincing victory over Chicago without their star, the team has shown resilience, but Clark's return could be the push that transforms them from playoff hopefuls into true contenders.
Now, Caitlin Clark just helped deliver a major statement win. On Saturday, June 14, Caitlin Clark returned to the court from the Indiana Fever after missing 5 games with one injury. The Indiana Fever handed the New York Liberty their first loss of the season, and Caitlin Clark was at the center of it. She made a return with force, leading the charge on both ends of the floor, and she came back in dominant fashion, putting up 32 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds. Just shy of 30 points for a 102-88 win over the New York Liberty. Now, even NBA's own LeBron James took notice, posting the CC effect.
The business impact of Clark's return is massive. Last season, ESPN networks saw only modest WNBA numbers before she came back, but once she was healthy, viewership skyrocketed. Games she played on ESPN platforms have averaged 1.3 million viewers, about 7% higher than already strong baselines. Flora Kelly, ESPN's VP of Research, praised Clark as a generational talent, while also stressing that the league's overall growth beyond Fever games is often overlooked. Still, the numbers tell the story. 21 of the 24 WNBA broadcasts that topped 1 million viewers last season featured Clark. Her timing couldn't be better for the league, either. In 2026, the WNBA's new $2.2 billion media rights deal with NBC Sports and ESPN kicks in, and both networks are clearly building around Clark as the face of that investment. Teams have already changed their business models to account for her drawing power. The Dream, Sun, Wings, Aces, Mystics, and Sky have all moved Indiana matchups to bigger arenas. And the demand is no joke. When the Fever played a preseason game in Iowa, tickets became the most expensive of Clark's career, with resale prices soaring past $1,750.
Caitlin Clark continues to crush the viewership department and bring in those big ratings. This is from ESPN PR. This past Sunday, ABC aired another of its most watched WNBA games ever with the Indiana Fever's win over the Dallas Wings. It averaged 2.1 million viewers and peaked at 2.5 million viewers. WNBA on ESPN is up 7% from last season, man. What? The numbers are crazy. The numbers are crazy. She's a draw.
Clark's return isn't just about boosting ratings and ticket sales, it's critical for the Fever's championship hopes. Even with back-to-back #1 picks in Aaliyah Boston and Clark, their title window is narrower than it looks. The WNBA's salary cap and parity make it hard for any team to dominate for long, which means Indiana has to maximize Clark's rookie contract and the momentum she's created before the rest of the league catches up. Coach Stephanie White has been clear, the margin for error against championship-level teams is razor-thin. That's why the Fever were aggressive in the off-season, adding veterans like Dana Borner, Natasha Howard, and Sophie Cunningham to complement their young stars. Clark herself set the bar high, saying before the season, "My expectation is for us to try to win a championship." That wasn't empty talk, it was a declaration from a player who knows her influence. Their early season blowout win over Chicago, where Clark notched a triple-double, along with hard-fought battles against the defending champion New York Liberty, proved the Fever belong in championship conversations.
Seen Caitlin Clark since the beginning of July. A lot of people had predicted for her to be out around the end of August, but this is a great update, seeing that she could possibly play tomorrow, going up against Paige Beckers. Now, we know they have been having this crazy narrative about Paige and Caitlin, Paige being better. Everything will be put to bed tomorrow, I pray, Caitlin.
When Clark steps back on the court, it won't just be about basketball, it will be about the future of the league. Every player knows that their salaries, visibility, and even career opportunities are tied to her presence. That's the uncomfortable reality. The WNBA's surge in popularity hasn't been a shared, collective success, it's been the Caitlin Clark show, with everyone else playing a supporting role. Her recent absence exposed the fragility of the system. If one injury can cut viewership in half and tank ticket sales, what happens the next time she goes down? What happens when she eventually retires? These are the questions WNBA executives can't ignore. Now she's returning to a packed schedule that's already pushing players across the league to their physical limits. She'll face elite competition under the national spotlight, with millions watching to see if she can return to form. The psychological games have already started, and her comeback marks the first battle in a larger fight over the future direction and survival of women's professional basketball.
2.1 million average viewers to watch the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark, take on the Dallas Wings. ABC airs another of its most watched WNBA games ever. WNBA games ever. Ever. Ever, ever, forever, ever, forever, ever. ABC's fourth most watched WNBA game ever. More than 120 regular season and postseason games. More than 120 regular season and postseason games. This is more than most WNBA finals games, including last year.
Clark's return matters for reasons far bigger than business or basketball. She's become a cultural phenomenon, drawing in people who had never watched the women's game before and turning it into must-see television. Her matchups regularly outperform NBA playoff games in viewership, and her fan base stretches across demographics that past WNBA marketing could never reach. That reach, however, comes with enormous pressure. Clark carries the weight of players seeking better pay, networks betting on women's sports, and fans who believe this moment could permanently change the landscape of basketball. Her 1.3 million All-Star fan votes, compared to just 96,000 2 years ago, show how uniquely she connects with audiences. Every game she plays sets records, from attendance to TV ratings to mainstream coverage. The WNBA is about to get its golden goose back, and the entire basketball world is waiting to see what happens next.